What's up, everyone? This is Timmy J. Booyah coming to here to talk about Boulder 70.3 triathlon. And that's going to be taking place on June 2024. It's a Saturday, and I'm in the race. And if you're going to be the race, I'll see you there. This video is a course preview. I'm going to talk about the course, nutrition, some of the strategies, and what you're seeing on the screen here is just a quick little video from the Facebook page. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so what I have here is a Google Earth imagery. I sketched the course out where blue is the bike course, the red line is the run course, and the yellow line is the swim course here. So before going into the details there, I just wanted to point out a few other things. So this is the transition area in magenta, this purple color, and that's basically, if I zoom in on that, we can tell that it's a parking lot. All right, and here's a few photos of transition I found online. Here are some bikes ready to go, and then a couple more photos. That left one, you can just tell that it can get pretty busy. All right, and then a few video clips just showing the transition area from an aerial video in relationship to some of the other features of the course. So this last clip, we have a few cyclists coming in to T2, and this is transition again. One other thing to mention in this map is the athlete village in check-in, which would be located in the grassy area here, sort of between this concession area and first parking area, I should say finish line. So we got the vendor tables, vendor tents. There's going to be the check-in, the main Ironman check-in tent, as well as the main Ironman, the store, Ironman store. All right, I got a couple more aerial photos I want to show. Here's the first one. Right, so now you see the transition area is right here. The start of the race, the swim start would be down, just right down here. We would also have this, so we'd swim out, over, and then back in, coming in over this direction here. And the second aerial photo is from the west side looking eastward. Okay, so we have the transition, all the bikes way out over here, and then Athlete Village would be right all the way in through here. The swim would be swim out, across, and then back. The swim course is a pretty straightforward. It's a two-turn swim course where there'll be a turn buoy here and a turn buoy here. It's in 2024, the swim course is counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, where we'll be swimming out, over, and then back. North is up, so that means the sun is going to be on our right, rising in the east. The swim will probably start around 7 a.m. and it'll probably take perhaps as long as an hour to get everyone into the water. So the last swimmers may not start until around 8 a.m. That being said, the sun will be up. So if you're swimming out, then and breathing to your right, you'll know that the sun is most likely going to be in your face. And then when you're swimming back on the last part of the swim and breathing left, the sun will be in your face as well. Water temperatures for race day is expected to be low 60s to mid 60s. I'm going to be wearing a long sleeve wetsuit. I know that that's kind of an individual choice. I might even wear booties as well because I'm always cold, but some folks would probably be fine in a short sleeve wetsuit as well. So just my word of advice there is to do some open water swimming before race day, if possible. Know what you will be comfortable swimming in these sorts of conditions, and that way you'll have your best race. Right, so this Ironman map is similar, of course. There's transition here, swim start, go out, over, and back. The red triangles here indicate the turn buoys, so make sure to keep those on your left. Don't try to like cut the corner, make sure you go around them. And the yellow and orange buoys are sighting buoys. The map says outbound sighting buoy, return sighting buoy. So the yellow ones are basically for the first half of the swim, and then the orange colored sighting buoys are for the second half of the swim. Once you start seeing orange colored buoys, you know the swim is over. You're on the second half. All right, I took the Ironman swim course map here and did a few markups. First, I identified each leg as the out, the across, and then the in. And then what I did is I assumed that this map here is drawn to scale, and therefore it's about 37% of the way out is in or about the same distance, 0.44 miles, and then the across section is about 0.32 miles or 26%. So that means when you hit that first buoy, you know you're more than a third of the way done. Going across, you know that halfway is halfway of the whole swim course. And just good to know in case you're going to peek at your watch at the buoys, you know about your distance and you can evaluate your pace that way. Athletes will seed themselves, so make sure that if you know you're a 35-minute swimmer, stand by the 35-minute sign. If you're a 55-minute swimmer, stand by the 55-minute sign. Every 5 seconds, so many athletes will start, and that's just to minimize the amount of passing and so everyone swims with someone who's about their speed. Going with tinted goggles, and I think that's what I've always worn. But again, that's a personal choice. And the water is going to be, yeah, a little on the cold side, a little bit murky, but it's a fresh water. It's not like salt water, like an ocean swim. So that's all I had to say about the swim. All right, let's talk about the bike course. So the bike course is a 56-mile bike course. It consists of two loops around this blue outline that I've traced here in the Google Earth. And each loop is about 28 miles. Uh, it is in the clockwise direction. So actually, it'd be a little bit less than 28 miles because if we zoom in on transition here, we notice that here's transition in the magenta color, and then this line, this blue line, is about half a mile, maybe a little bit longer to get us out to the loop. So we'd ride the loop twice, and then come back, which again is another half mile. So I'd say the loop itself is probably a little closer to 27.5 miles. The exact location of the mountain line and this mountain line is something I'm not really aware of. Those sorts of details will be brought up and will be obvious on race day. In this bike section, I'm going to discuss the route, the roads, the distances, the road closures, the elevation, and the road quality. Here is the map for provided by Ironman. And what we see here, what I've added is the route names and the distances. So this is something I like to do. It's helpful for me. Don't worry, we'll talk about elevation in just a bit. But down here is transition. We ride out to the Diagonal Highway, then a couple miles to J Road, and then we'll veer right onto US Route 36, and then go up about 10 and a half miles to Hygiene Road, over 4 miles, and then southward. We'll turn right and head south back to transition on these roads labeled here. So now, as far as road closures go, there was some helpful posts. I mean, this sort of information will be in the athlete guide and probably mentioned at the athlete briefing as well. I'm recording this in April, so I don't have all that information at my disposal at the time of this recording. But what I do know is the Ironman Boulder Facebook page has some helpful links about the road closures I found. So one post in particular that was on February 8th is this one here. It says Highway 36 will also be closed to through traffic. So remember, Highway 36 is this route along the west edge. That's 10 miles. And then in a different Facebook post on March 6th, this is a webinar and it's about 35 minutes or so. It's pretty helpful. It talks about the course, and then at the end there's some Q&A. And what they mentioned about the bike course is that Highway 36, Hygiene Road, J Road, and Highway 119 will be closed to car traffic in the direction of the athlete. So what that means is they're going to basically shut down the travel lane in the direction of us riding in the clockwise direction. So in orange, I've identified Diagonal Highway, J Road, US Route 36, and Hygiene Road. It basically makes up about 2/3 of the entire loop, which is great. And J Road, US Route 36, and Hygiene Road are all one lane in each direction. Okay, so we're going to take a look at Google Street View within Google Earth, just to take a look at the roads themselves. And for someone out of town, this is the best I can do without actually traveling to the road. So we're first going to take a look here at a spot on US Route 36. I'm looking at the quality of the pavement. I'm looking at the road. We can confirm that it is one direction, one lane of travel in each direction. This road looks pretty good. I would say it's not new, but it's probably like an 8 out of 10 quality. Zooming up to a different spot here on US Route 36, looks the same as before. One lane of travel in each direction. Of course, we're going to have our triathletes will have that lane to ourselves on race morning. Um, Moving up on hygiene, I dragged the little orange character onto the road, and I'm looking at the road quality. Hygiene Road is not looking great in this imagery. Now, I could be mistaken because also read that there were some road improvements. So if they're going to improve any part of this course, it may be Hygiene Road. Take note, there is no bike lane on this particular section of road, but hygiene will also be blocked off in the direction of travel for us triathletes. Okay, moving over to the east, of course, uh, we're going to be rolling south here. This is N 75th Street. The quality of the road is looking pretty good, better than hygiene. So I'm just kind of zooming ahead, and I do notice some tar patches, but that's all right. This is the flatter section of the course, and we'll talk about elevation in just a moment. Take a look at one more spot that is Diagonal Highway. So Diagonal Highway will be is 2 lanes of travel in each direction. What we're looking at here is the 2 lanes of travel in the direction we'll be biking, which will be in the southwest direction. And then there's 2 other lanes in the other direction on the other side of the divider. But the left lane will be open to traffic. I believe the right lane will be closed to traffic, plus us cyclists will also have the bike lane. But this is a very smooth road from what I remember from 2021. It's going to be fast. Okay, let's talk about the elevation. So this course is a little bit of hilly and a little bit of flat, and it's a 2 loop course, of course. So that means that we're going to have a preview of the second course loop on the first loop. So for people like me who are coming from out of town and won't have time to actually look at the course, I'll know what the second lap is like after the first lap, and that'll be helpful to know for energy and pacing and all that. So yeah, so let's get into it. I've added 4 different sections that I plan to divide the bike course up into my mind as far as elevation goes. And the first is the first 5 miles are going to be steady uphill, shown down here along Diagonal Highway, J Road, and then the first mile or so of US Route 36. After that, we've got 7 or 7.5 miles of rolling hills. So this is going to be along US Route 36. After that, it's going to be the downhill section. So this is the third section, as uh, as I would categorize it, where we have a mile downhill, which is maybe like 3 or 4%, down to Hygiene Road. When we turn right on Hygiene Road, it's the steep downhill section for a couple miles, maybe like a mile and a half, 2 miles. And then it flattens out along Hygiene Road towards the very end of it, but it's still downhill. I'm just calling it a mild downhill section. So this is supposed to be like a light blue and dark blue to represent the mild downhill and steeper downhill, respectively. And then the last section is flat. So the last 10 miles or so of the loop, I have in gray here. That's to represent flat or flattish. For the most part, it'll feel flat compared to the first 3 segments of the bike course. I would mention that this right turn on the Hygiene Road could be a little grisly. It could be really fast, so just be really careful on this turn here. I think that would be the most potentially dangerous turn of the course. Everything else looks pretty straightforward. I've also mapped out the bike course loop on Strava. I've created a map, and I'm starting at transition, or at least on the loop, and I go up. The first part of the first 5 miles or so is that slight incline, and then we have the rolling hills along US Route 36. And then once we hit the downhill, we see the descent right on Hygiene Road, right on N 75th Street, and then the flat segment back down to transition. It's time to talk about the run course. The run course is 13.1 miles. It is a 2 loop course around the reservoir in the counterclockwise direction. As you can see on this map, red represents the run course. And I'll zoom into the transition area, which is purple, magenta here. And the run course will leave out in the east side and then continue out around the reservoir 2 loops. A couple things I wanted to point out in the run course here, just observations, is that around mile 2, there's this little mountain back here. I don't know if I drew this correctly, but according to the map, it looks like it's about this distance and at this location. One other thing to point out is that runs and bikes are going to be passing by each other right here. So the blue line is the bike. Cyclists are going to be finishing their bike ride as runners are headed north on this N 63rd Street. So again, this is about mile 2 and about mile 9 of the run course. Also, the finish line is right here. You don't have to run all the way to transition. The finish line will be right here. Of course, you'll know about that because when you run by on your first lap, you'll be directed to continue and start your second lap. And then on the second lap, you'll know there'll be no doubt in your mind where the finish line is. Even if I didn't draw it exactly correct, this is the best I could do based on the maps that I have available to me at this moment. Okay, so here's the map from Ironman, and I went ahead and added the start and end, and then the direction labels. There's the two-way arrow here. And then one thing I was curious about is how much pavement and how much soil is on the run course or dirt. And it's mostly dirt. It's mostly a dirt course. So it's going to feel like a trail run for the most part. And I'm going to be packing my trail shoes. I'm going to leave the Alpha Flies at home, pack the Speed Goats, and get ready for a mostly dirt trail run. I believe it's well packed dirt, maybe some gravel, but for the most part, it looks like still a firm running surface. The aid stations are located on this map as well. I didn't really highlight them at all, but there's water stations or aid stations you can see from the legend maybe every mile and a half, 2 miles. So be aware of where those are, as well as take note on your first loop so that you know in your second loop what to expect, whether it's the aid station, the surface type, or the last thing I'm going to talk about is the elevation change. So I made this map here to identify where you can expect ascents and descents, then flat sections. Along this Monarch Road, there's a climb. And then once you turn left, you descend, and then a second climb after that for maybe another half mile or so, and then a descent. All this climbing and descending takes place on the dirt. And then what you're seeing here in gray is flat, or I labeled it flattish because a lot of it is still on the dirt. So there are some undulations, but for the most part, it's pretty flat. So I just called it flattish. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on this course preview of the 2024 Boulder 70.3 triathlon. I hope this is very helpful, and not just 2024, but subsequent years could very well use the exact same course or at least have significant overlap. So I hope this video serves well in the future. My name is Tim Nelson, and I'll be competing in the 2024 race. Be flying in from Sacramento, California, and competing as an age grouper for the 40 to 44-year-old age group. So my final thoughts are, if you're racing, then kick some ass. I mean it. And also have fun, but kick some ass too.